Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that's, well, a totally normal biological journey, but one that nobody really likes to talk about out loud: male aging and vitality. It's one of those topics that carries a ton of quiet stigma, especially once you hit that big 40. But today, we're decoding the source material to look straight at the facts. What is actually happening under the hood, and more importantly, how can you completely master it?
Now, you might be thinking, this is just a conversation for guys in their 60s or 70s, right? Well, check out this quote I found in our source material. It is incredibly revealing. Quote, "I am only 37 years old and I'm already worrying about this." Crazy, right? It just goes to show that worrying about your stamina, your energy, and your drive, it's absolutely not just a senior citizen thing. Figuring out our biology is really a lifelong pursuit for all of us. All right, so here's our roadmap for the explainer today. 1. The reality of male aging. 2. Two views on vitality. 3. Movement and blood flow. 4. Clearing the physical blockages. And finally, 5. Mindset and true vitality. Let's get right into it. Section 1. The reality of male aging, breaking down the physical changes. So, in modern medicine, this transition actually has a name. It's called andropause, or male menopause. But here's the really crucial distinction we need to make. It is a slow, gradual, and completely measurable decline of testosterone. It is entirely unlike that sudden, dramatic hormonal cliff that women go through in menopause. And because it's a real biological shift, you can literally track it with a simple blood test. So if you're feeling off, it's not all in your head. It is a measurable, physiological event. And because it's a full-body shift, the symptoms go way beyond what you might initially guess. We're talking about increased belly fat creeping up on you, persistent fatigue that you just can't explain away, a noticeable loss of muscle mass, and even totally unpredictable mood swings. You know, this really proves it isn't just some localized reproductive issue. Your changing hormones are actively altering your energy, your body composition, and your mindset, all at the exact same time.
Okay, so how do we actually establish a healthy baseline as we age? Well, Dr. Tran Quan Yin introduced this fascinating, super practical mathematical concept called the Rule of 9 to gauge a healthy frequency. Let's look at the number 45 here, which we're using as an example for a 50-year-old guy.
So the rule of 9 works like a charm, and it's super simple. You just take the first digit of your age and multiply it by 9. So for our 50-year-old man, you take 5, multiply it by 9, and boom, you get 45. Now, here's how you read it. The 4 stands for the number of weeks, and the 5 is the frequency. So that's 5 times in 4 weeks. It's a brilliant, highly reassuring benchmark that takes all the stressful guesswork right out of aging.
Moving right along to Section 2, Two Views on Vitality, where modern science meets ancient wisdom.
Now, this is where things get really interesting. We have two totally different lenses to look through here. On the left, you've got modern medicine looking at andropause by zeroing in on dropping testosterone levels and treating specific, isolated symptoms. But on the right, traditional medicine takes a massive step back to look at the whole system. They call it Chung Zeung Nui, and the focus is entirely on the whole body imbalance of Qi, which is your energy, and Huit, your blood, along with the health of foundational organs like the kidney, heart, and spleen.
To really grasp how profound this traditional viewpoint is, just look at this data from a study of 375 patients. A staggering 65% of them were diagnosed with depleted core energy. Another 35% had other issues like heart and spleen deficiency. I mean, this beautifully illustrates that the vast majority of these vitality issues don't start as localized physical problems. They actually stem from a deep, system-wide loss of the body's foundational energy reserves. And when you map out how this condition actually progresses, it makes so much sense. Mild cases usually show a mix of deficiencies. Moderate cases often tie back to those heart and spleen issues. But take a look at the severe level. When symptoms get really bad, they almost universally trace right back to that primary diagnosis: depleted core energy. It really cements the idea that once your deep, root energy is compromised, that's when the physical symptoms become impossible to ignore.
All right, Section 3, Movement and Blood Flow. Let's look at your physical toolkit for vitality.
Let's move from theory to action with these core vitality exercises. Number 1 is the classic plank. This builds your core stability and ramps up whole body endurance. Number 2, crunches. These are fantastic for increasing your overall stamina and fighting off that persistent fatigue we talked about. And number 3, lunges. Now, the lunge is an absolute game changer because it acts like a mechanical pump, forcefully driving blood down to the lower body, and that is absolutely vital for restoring your function. And of course, that brings us to the Kegel exercise. Now, this is a targeted workout specifically for your pelvic floor muscles. Honestly, it is probably the most crucial yet most completely overlooked exercise in a man's toolkit. Strengthening this specific muscle group directly improves your physiological control. It is literally the ultimate internal foundation for everything we're discussing today.
On to Section 4, clearing the physical blockages, unblocking the body's natural flow. Our source material uses this brilliant metaphor that just hits the nail on the head. Quote, "The fire of desire is still burning, but the fuel pipes are blocked." Look, if you've been feeling frustrated lately, let this validate you. Your internal drive hasn't just vanished into thin air. The problem is simply that your physiological delivery system, your body's fuel pipes, are temporarily hindered. That's it.
Think of it like a giant irrigation system. Imagine your blood vessels are these intricate canals. If those canals get blocked up by mud, and in our bodies, mud means blood fat, cholesterol, or inflammation, well, the fields are going to dry up, no matter how much water is waiting back at the reservoir. Restoring your function isn't about somehow magically creating more desire. It's about physically clearing out the mud so your natural flow can finally return.
So how exactly do we clear out those blockages externally? Our source highlights this really fascinating natural therapy using a blend of two oils. First, you have castor oil, which acts as the transporter. It penetrates deep down to nourish the tissues. Then you have pine essential oil, which acts as the softener. It actually reduces local inflammation and softens up hardened tissues. When you combine them, warm them up a bit, and gently massage them in, they work in perfect harmony to get that local circulation moving again.
Finally, Section 5, Mindset and True Vitality, Redefining a Man's Worth. We really need to zoom out for a second here. A man's true value is never defined solely by his biological function. It is built on your life experience, the love you've shared, and the profound self-respect you've built over the years. This is so deeply important to internalize, guys. The natural biological shifts your body goes through absolutely do not diminish your worth. Your holistic value as a human being only grows richer and way more complex as you age.
Look, the goal here isn't to somehow turn back time. No way, that's impossible anyway. The goal is to master your age wisely. So what does this all mean for you? What is going to be your starting point today? Are you going to run the math on the rule of 9? Maybe start up a daily routine of lunges? Or maybe just adopt a brand new, empowering mindset about your own intrinsic value? You've got the tools now. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I truly hope this sparks a renewed, confident journey into mastering your own vitality.